Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special spoiler review of the season finale of House of the Dragon, brought to you by the
Geek
Buddies!
Hey!
Neither one of us are riding dragons, but we're ready to talk about House of the Dragon here, the season finale, the Black Queen. Of course, last week we had everything to do with the Greens. Well, this week is everything to do with the Blacks side of the Civil War equation. And we want to give a big shout out to Carbon Health, who continues to power and sponsor us here on the Geek Buddies. There's no Civil War at the Carbon Health. You can just go there and get checked out. If you happen to take part in Dragon Civil War and get any injuries, just go there to carbonhealth.com. Get it checked out today. Download the app as well if you're in Arizona, Sedona, and you need to get checked out, have some ghost encounters. And you're a little scared, you want to go get checked out, you can do that using the app as well to find the nearest Carbon Health place near you. All right, let's jump into this finale here. Oh, let's introduce ourselves. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, writer, producer, and host here on the Geek Buddies. Mike?
I'm Michael Vogel. I'm a writer and producer of animated TV shows and movies.
And this is Shannon McClung. I'm an animation writer and a television actor, where I was in, Sedona, Arizona this past weekend. Beautiful, beautiful place. And I also went on a ghost tour in Jerome, Arizona, allegedly one of the most haunted places in the U.S.
And?
Bupkis. If it were...
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to poke at the supernatural. I'm a big chicken, so I don't want that. I should have said Boopkis. Boopkis. That would have been better.
Oh my God.
And the ghost is now leaving the room.
Even the ghost is now. Nah, I can't.
Boo. Not the scary boo.
Oh,
the critical
okay.
boo.
We're done. We're moving on. All right, episode 10, The Black Queen. This brings to end a fantastic first season. I think I speak for the two gentlemen with me here. A fantastic first season of House of the Dragon, kind of redeeming the Game of Thrones franchise and the brand and the IP here to get people back on board and excited. Seeing so many people on social media expressing their sadness that they're going to have to wait till 2024 till we see a season 2 for this show. So it feels like we're back into the rhythms of Game of Thrones again in our world. Michael, overall thoughts on this finale and how it kind of wrapped up the storylines from the previous 9 episodes leading into this finale?
Yeah, I mean, look, they really, I watched it last night with my brother, and we were both remarking afterwards how they really did it. We went from, if you guys remember, the week before House of the Dragon came out, our Geek Buddies topic was, you ready to go back to Westeros? What do we think? And there was interest, there was maybe some hopeful optimism, but there was a lot of, we'll see, I don't know if this is really going to do it for me. And when you kind of track the arc of, oh, that was better than I thought. Oh, I'm really interested, to where we are now, where I think all three of us are firmly back in the obsessing over Westeros. Like every single one of these character arcs, all the interplay between the families, between the main family, between the side families. I mean, really, they just got us right back into everything, where I was one of the people that thing got done. I was like, I have to wait over a year. I am so pissed. And I think, as I said, 10, 11 weeks ago now, I am so happy to be back in the excited about Westeros and Game of Thrones bandwagon. Like, I'm so thrilled about it that I don't have to hate it anymore. I don't have to be like, oh, they really let me down. Did they let me down? They did at one point, but they are clawing their way back into my heart like a dragon, and I'm all about it.
Shannon, your thoughts on this season finale here as we wrap up the first season of House of the Dragon?
I mean, it was dynamite. It was dynamite. I mean, their continuing ability to make us feel one way about a character and then have us feel a completely opposite way. It continues to go. I mean, even in this episode, there was somebody that like, yeah, you're an okay guy. No, you're a piece of shit. You might be okay. I mean, it's just, it is a ping pong match that is just a blast. And for a show that was, very, very light on action, what we did get with this episode was just so tense and so nail biting. And again, not knowing the books, not knowing the level of what is to come, I'm like, if this is a sample of that, it seems like, as Vogel said, Game of Thrones has clawed its way back into our hearts. The performances across the board, especially Emma, is it Darcy or
Yeah,
DRC?
DRC, yeah.
Emma DRC is just such an incredible performer, and watching how all of these supporting stories, how we are just as invested in them as we are with the main stories, and the characters, that stuff that they set up 6 episodes ago starting to pay off. I mean, it's just so well done. And knowing how creatively involved Mikhail Sapochnik was, knowing that he's not coming back, like it's gonna be interesting. But Ryan J. Condal seems to have a really good handle on what the story is. So
yeah, and I mean, shout out to Greg Yattanis, who directed this episode. I think did a fantastic job with this episode. Game of Thrones rhythms and patterns are this. Episode 9 is that episode that where all the shit hits the fan. Episode 10 is essentially the denouement, the consequences and repercussions of everything that happened in episode 9, and then setting up what we will be getting in the next season. And I think they accomplished it in some of the best ways possible, that evoked some of the best scenes, best moments, best episodes of Game of Thrones in the past. I think they did it really well in this finale, focusing on Rhaenyra's journey from unsteady queen to a queen with absolute resolve and the moral high ground in her mind, ready to engage in this civil war with Alicent. All the old feelings have been put in a box, and it is now time to fight by that last shot of her, which is just an incredible piece of acting, as you said, Shannon, by Emma Darcy. And I think everybody, Matt Smith, thought the kids did a great job. Yves Best, Steve Toussaint, everybody throughout this episode just doing incredible work. Aemond up there as well. Everybody doing fantastic work. And the dragons, of course. So let's get into it. We're going to break this down into sections. I'll try to rip through everything really quickly so we can talk about it. We open on the map of the Seven Kingdoms. Rhaenyra and Lucerys are talking about his reluctance to rule Driftmark, having a conversation about the issue of duty. Rhaenys comes in and tells Rhaenyra and Daemon, after she sends Lucerys away, that her father, that Viserys is dead, and that Alicent has put Aegon on throne. Daemon thinks that he was slain. They also question Rhaenys initially, how she got out, thinking maybe she might be a double agent here. And we see her Rhaenyra processing this information. Daemon questions why Rhaenys did not burn Alicent and the entire family there to the ground. And she says a really brilliant thing, and this is great writing again. She says it was not her war to start. That is awesome. I love that logical reasoning there. Some people may not like it. I liked it. Rhaenys warns her that the Greens are coming for her and her children, and then Rhaenyra starts to have her baby. We cut to her questioning why the baby, or the midwife rather, and the maesters questioning why the baby is coming so soon. We cut to Daemon giving orders to his military people as Rhaenyra is screaming the whole time. Lucerys and Jacaerys are called in to talk to Rhaenyra. She tells them, "Don't do a damn thing without my permission, because I am still in control in this situation." We hear that Corlys' fever has broken and he is sailing. They don't know where. Daemon wants Raven sent to his allies. He says he will fly to Riverland to affirm Lord Tully's support. Jacaerys comes in and says he will do no such thing, and that no one is to do anything without Rhaenyra's approval. Daemon tries to pawn him off, but Jacaerys is not having it. He walks out with him. We cut to Daemon having the Kingsguard swear to Rhaenyra. He says he is presenting them with a choice. As Caraxes walks up, he wants him to swear an oath to Rhaenyra as the queen and Jacaerys as the heir. And then we see that juxtaposed with Rhaenyra struggling with the birth of the baby and her screams, refusing any help, the blood coming out, and the baby is born still, a stillbirth, and is dead, foreshadowing, possibly in my opinion, all the death she will bring about in this war, and also the death she's going to experience of her own child yet again later on in this episode. Rhaenyra wraps the baby for burial. We cut to them burning the baby in burial ritual with everyone present. And just then Eric walks up and brings her the crown and swears to Rhaenyra. So let's stop there. Gentlemen, what an opening here for Rhaenyra and the emotional journey that she's going on throughout this opening, hearing the news about Viserys, hearing the news about losing her path to the Iron Throne, reacting to all of this, dealing with Daemon's anger about it all, because of course he's lost a brother here and the path to the Iron Throne as well. And then Rhaenys and what her role is in all of this, and then her having the baby and then losing the baby herself and having to burn it, kind of similar to what Viserys had to do with Aemma in the first episode of House of the Dragon. Mike, your thoughts overall on this intro?
I mean, overall, it's just really interesting to take this episode and just put it up against episode 9 and just see where the differences are, but also see the similarities. I mean, you have this moment where Rhaenys comes in and gives them the information, and much like the scene last week with Alicent and the council, all the men are like, "Great, let's kill everybody. Let's do it. Let's kill the people." And Alicent's like, "Wait, y'all have been planning this the whole time?" And similarly, Daemon is like, "All right, Alicent killed Viserys. We got to go to town. Like, let's start fighting. Let's make it all happen." And Rhaenyra is a little bit more in the process. I mean, before the whole labor happens. And so again, you have this situation where you have these two women that are living very much in the man's world of Westeros, who are both reacting differently. And perhaps if they both followed their first impulses, things would not go the way that they are going to go for the next 4 seasons of this show. Similarly with Rhaenys. I mean, you know, a lot of people discussed this with her choice last week and kind of what she said here, not my war to start. Here is another woman who's like, I am not afraid to get into the shit, but I'm also not going to just go run and Dracarys everybody just cuz. Yeah. So like you have like these 3 very, very strong women, each in their own way, kind of being like, let's think this through, guys. And the guys are like, let's go, let's go, let's go. Similarly, you know, Rhaenyra going into labor in this moment and this very difficult labor and all these things that are happening, just comparing that to the pilot episode of the show. With her mom and the labor that she went through that ultimately ended up with another baby that didn't make it for different reasons, but very similar. And, you know, similar to the very beginning of the show, where Rhaenyra was like, I don't want to be a baby maker. I don't want to sit around and make babies. I want to make a difference in a different way. And here you have this moment where she finally gets to be what she always wanted to be. Like, hey, your dad's dead. You're queen now. Yeah. And not only was that to a degree taken away from her by the Hightowers, but in addition, she then goes into labor, and while all of these decisions are being made, all these really important discussions, the reason she has to pull her kids in and be like, don't do a goddamn thing, is because she's stuck having this very, very difficult labor, which is the thing that she never wanted. So it's a really, really interesting choice, I think, to have those 2 bits lined up. And then even Daemon, when he takes Jake out and like has the 2 guards, we're more on Daemon's side than Otto Hightower's, obviously, but he does the exact same thing that Otto Hightower did last week. Otto took a bunch of people into that throne room and said, so you can either bend the knee or... And Daemon says, so hey, you can either swear fealty now or... And they're both doing, again, like all of the men in this world, they're all playing by that same handbook. And so I just think it's really, really fascinating to watch how all of this goes down because... again, Alicent and Rhaenyra, they both made their mistakes. Neither one of them is infallible. They both have done things over the course of the season that we've all been like, I don't know. But both of them are not doing what the men around them are just pushing them constantly to do, which I think is fascinating.
Yeah, one of the things they said, my excellent point you bring up here, one of the things they said, the creators of the show said that they wanted to tell the Game of Thrones story through a woman's point of view. So a woman's point of view in a patriarchal society. And certainly this episode itself and the entire series went a long way to try to destroy that narrative that women shouldn't rule because they're too emotional, because a majority of the men are super emotional throughout this whole series and making these decisions that are leading to death, leading to these wars, leading to these issues. And you're right. There's absolutely a great a comparison between Alicent and Rhaenyra, between Otto Hightower and Daemon and Rhaenys and Corlys, who we'll get to that scene where Corlys realizes, shit, all this action I've taken, look at all and I should have just listened to my wife instead of being so obsessed with getting to the Iron Throne. It's a great point you bring up, Michael, for sure. Shannon, what do you think about this opening here and what Rhaenyra is going through physically and emotionally throughout this opening sections of the show?
I mean, watching her comfort Jace or Luke, excuse me, watching her as he's saying, like, I don't want to do this. Like, my grandsire is the greatest sailor that's ever been on the ocean. I'm green in the gills before we even leave the harbor. And how she says, I didn't want this either, but I found out I had to earn what I was going to get here. And so you just see the difference in the way she deals with Luke and the way they have to deal with Aegon. How Aegon is he's a a ghost in the night, like you can't find him, and how Rhaenyra just deals with her sons with love. Like this is how we're gonna do this. And the moment that, again, Daemon is just such a fascinating character, because the moment that Rhaenys comes in and explains, like, hey, Viserys is dead, they put Aegon on the throne, and he's like, how did he die?
Yeah.
And she's like, I couldn't say. I was barricaded, like they wouldn't let me out. And he's like, oh, so how'd you escape? How'd you do this? How'd you do that? And because Daemon, it appears, is doing this all for Rhaenyra, we're like, yeah, Daemon, you are the man. Good for you, dude. And, sticking up for your woman. Then, like, the further we go, like, oh no, that's just because you are a jacked up dude.
Yeah,
that's like you are looking.
You want
for
the information to go kill everybody. Yeah,
yeah, you're looking for any excuse to start fighting now. And watching how Rhaenyra is dealing with this information, I think it's the moment that they say that Aegon got put on the throne. That's when she has that first sort of that pain in her stomach. And you kind of see where this is going right away. And you look at what had to happen with her mom, with Emma, how these guys just basically tore her apart, and how Rhaenyra is, everybody stay back. Like, I'm the one that has to do. Like, it's just so interesting, and just the writing. It's just so well done. And where did we get up to? I'm sorry, I'm lost.
We go all the way to Eric shows up with the crown.
Oh my gosh,
we haven't gotten to the crown being put on her head yet. So just to where Eric shows up is where we're at. They burn their child on the.
Gotcha. Yeah, just the somberness of that occasion, and then knowing what is about to happen, and like again connecting to that last episode, that he's the one Cargill twin who kind of took off. And that was the one who saved Rhaenys too, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Trying to say
yes.
Yeah, I think you make great points as well, Shannon, about her and her journey. Because for her, and we're going to find this out later when she has that pretty chilling back and forth with Daemon by the fireplace. Her duty here is to follow the vision of her father, the prophecy of her father. Her father may be dead. So what you said, her reaction to Aegon being put on the throne, that is essentially another insult to her father, the legacy and the memory of her father, because she is the one that's supposed to, he has bestowed upon her that she will be the one that brings about peace. You were the chosen one. That's in essence that. And so her reaction to it is even more of a double insult. Not only is he dead, but they've also destroyed the legacy that he had kind of set out for her to be a part of. So there's a double insult to her dad.
What do you guys?
Yep.
What do you guys think? I have kind of thoughts, but I'm not sure. But like, what are your thoughts about how during her birth scene, the labor scene, it keeps intercutting with the dragon?
Yeah.
What's going on? What is that?
I think because, like a dragon, she is coming into her power. She is coming into her strength. She is going to breathe fire in this land, as we see by the end of the episode. I think it's her just kind of connecting that tissue. Also, the dragons are the ones laying eggs, right? And Daemon, we're going to get to that scene where Daemon talks about the three unborn eggs or unborn dragons that he has those eggs for.
No, the unclaimed. They exist.
Unclaimed. Yeah.
I mean, there's unborn dragons too. There's eggs, but there's three. I think there's 3 unclaimed that are
and I mean
roaming
the eggs
around.
Right. So we're seeing that. I think that comparison there to what we're going to see. She is going to be like a dragon. And what is the term for Daenerys, the mother of dragons? This idea of the Targaryens being connected with the dragons in such a powerful way. So to me, it's about her history of her family connected, as the dragons are have a long history as well in the Westeros.
Because Shannon, what was your thoughts?
I mean, I had no idea. I figured that this would come up, and I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I had no doubt that Captain Symbolism up there was going to have a thought or two. So I was curious to hear what he was going to say.
Well, I mean, I was just wondering because somebody pointed this out. The whole prophecy of this, the Song of Ice and Fire and the Prince Who Was Promised, like, technically, either they're like Aegon is Viserys's kid too.
Yes,
Like
true.
why Rhaenyra is so convinced that she's the proper line of prophecy because Viserys told her the secret or whatever. But
Yes.
technically speaking, Aegon is also a Targaryen. Like there's
Yeah.
not, there's no proof that breaks the prophecy. But it's heavily implied in the books that the Targaryens kind of have their ability to communicate with dragons or to control the dragons because those dragons need to exist. We need the fire to fight the ice.
Yeah.
And so I was just wondering if like that moment with Aegon on the crown and like whether that was in her mind or actual some connection of like, you need to get your shit together because you need to be fulfilling this prophecy. And if you don't, the connection to the dragons will go. I was getting deep in it. I was like, all right, let's figure this shit out. What's happening here? So I was just curious. I was also curious what Captain Symbolism thought, which is why I asked the question.
That is a term of endearment.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
You're the captain. You're the captain now.
I'm the captain. What does that mean, though? I'm the captain. Anyway, all right, Daemon. Anyway, Daemon takes the crown from Eric. Let's move on here. Puts it on her head. It is the crown that Viserys wore, and I love how Daemon runs his finger over the Targaryen dragon symbol. That's pretty awesome there. Maybe going through his own, as Rhaenyra is the one that we're focusing on this episode, Matt Smith doing really great work in the subtle moments, processing the death of his own brother and his complicated relationship with his own brother there in those moments, I think is really great. Anyway, puts it on her head. She's officially the Black Queen. They all bend the knee to her except for Rhaenys because they haven't decided one way or another. So she respects that by not bending the knee just yet. We cut to preparations being laid for this impending war. Rhaenyra comes in. Rhaena offers her wine and she beckons Rhaena and Baela to come with her to look at the map. She is standing there with all these men surrounding her, waiting to hear what she thinks. She wants to know who's on her side. She asks Rhaenys about Corlys, and she informs her that Corlys will make the decision when he arrives at Dragonstone. Daemon tries to strong-arm Rhaenys. Rhaenys ain't having it. Rhaenyra uses a softer tact, what Michael was talking about, the difference between those both, how they both want to go about doing this. Rhaenyra asks about the enemies, like the Lannisters. Of course, the Riverlands are essential. And then one of her military leaders brings up the dragons, and this is what we were talking about just a few minutes ago. Daemon says the Greens have 3 dragons, but they have Syrax, Caraxes, Meleys, and which gets a look from Rhaenys as if, just hold on a second. We haven't committed one way or another. Her sons have Vermax, Arax, Taraxes. Baela has Moondancer. Then we have Sea Smoke, Vermithor, Silverwing, and then 3 wild dragons, as Michael said. And there's even some eggs there rolling around, so we don't know how many more dragons they might have. Rhaenyra says to him, though, they haven't been to war. So you talk about all this dragon stuff, but it doesn't really matter. As we're going to find out later on this episode, it matters if you've been to war as a dragon, for God's sakes. Daemon thinks they need a place to gather near Harrenhal, and then a ship is sighted. There, they get the news that a ship is sighted with the green symbol on it, the green flag on it. It's Otto Hightower. They meet on the bridge, just like a few episodes ago when it was Daemon there with the egg and Mysaria, and it was I think it was Otto Hightower showing up to try to talk to Daemon, and it is once again this time, just like in a few episodes ago, Rhaenyra arrives on her dragon as a teenager. On the other side, this time she arrives on Daemon's side there, walks through all the guards and Otto. Here's Otto's pitch about how he'll take care of Lucerys and Jacaerys if she'll just bend the knee to Aegon, and that Daemon's children will serve the king and all of that. But she rejects this after we hear about the fact that he's strong-armed the houses of Tully and Baratheon and others to go along with Aegon. She rips the pin from his cloak, throws it in the water, and says he's as illegitimate as his king, calls him a traitor. And then Otto calls for the Grand Maester to bring up this page, which alludes back to when Alicent and Rhaenyra was studying by the tree in the first few episodes, this kind of connective tissue between them. Otto says that she hasn't forgotten, Alicent hasn't forgotten the love that they used to share. Daemon is done. He's ready to fight now. Enough of this nonsense. And Rhaenyra shuts it all down, says she'll give her answer in the morning. We cut to Daemon and Rhaenyra discussing the dragons. Rhaenyra reminds him that when the dragons fought last time, they burned everything to the ground. She does not want to be the queen of ash and bone. Lord Bartimaeus goes, well, are you considering this offer? And she brings up an intelligent conundrum. This was awesome in the middle of the episode. She says, is it her responsibility as a queen to maintain the peace and unity or to sit on the throne at all costs? I mean, imagine how much better Westeros would be if more leaders would have this conversation with themselves. Once again, as Mike pointed out, her taking a bigger picture, Daemon very much focused on what's right in front of his face. Daemon counters her by saying the Greens have declared war, screams and asks what she's going to do about it. She clears the room, and then we have this discussion that I alluded to here. Rhaenyra and Daemon debate what she should do. She's approaching it from a calm place. She says her responsibility is bigger because of the Song of Ice and Fire. He grabs her throat and chokes her as he talks about the dreams importance of Viserys, validating his being chosen to be king. So his anger there, essentially his not really impotence because he's had kids, but just this feeling that he is in deficiency in power in this situation here. So he's trying to reclaim it by making a physical action that is very brutal. When he lets go, Rhaenyra, though, gets the upper hand by realizing that Viserys never told Daemon about the prophecy. And I wrote here, this is an assault on the queen. This is treason, I would think. But Shannon, your thoughts on how the journey goes about as Rhaenyra embraces becoming the queen here, gets the information about what needs to be done, takes a different approach than when Daemon wants to, and then goes through this back and forth with Daemon where he essentially almost kills her with the choke there.
I mean, again, just a bunch of great scenes, bunch of great sequences. Was it Greg? Is it Yaitanis? Is that his name?
Yaitanis,
yeah. Really wonderful work here. There's something, I think for me personally as a viewer, there is an emotional response that I get when a group of people bows, like in the good way, not talking like, Avengers with Loki, but I'm thinking like the end of Return of the King when Viggo Mortensen says, my friends, you bow to no one, and everybody bows to the four hobbits. It's the same thing here when Cargill presents that crown, and you have that great moment with Daemon where he's kind of, runs his hand over the Targaryen symbol, and then he's the one who puts the crown on Rhaenyra's head, and then you see everyone kind of slowly bend the knee, and then as they're moving through the castle, getting ready for this sort of war room. I just love the technology that they use. That you see them lighting these candles on this tray that is going to slide under a table. Like it's just beautiful awesome work. And also you see how she's sort of surrounded by these guards. And as Daemon announces her, this is new for everybody. Like this isn't just new for Rhaenyra. So as she starts to move forward, the guards move with her, and you see her put her hand up, like, no. Remember, we practiced this on Tuesday. Like, you stay here, I go in. But then you just see why Rhaenyra would be a good queen. Like you see this cooler head about like, okay, now what is this? What is that? And then the whole dragon conversation, because yes, they have more, but the Greens have Vhagar. Like they have the biggest dragon in the world. Like it's just, he's the size of like 2 city blocks. Watching the negotiations, watching how everything is going to play out. And then that moment, how, again, we're on Daemon's side so much when they sort of excuse everyone and Daemon takes her by the throat, and it's like, nope, that's right, you're a piece of shit. I forgot. you might do some nice things, but you're still not a good guy. You're a useful guy. But that moment, I mean, that's really, I think, where Rhaenyra really embraces the fact that, yes, I am the one who is supposed to do this. My dad, someone from the family had to know this story to carry on. Nobody else knows this story. That's why this is me. I mean, just everything in this episode was great.
Well, and it makes sense, Mike, because I mean they've had such a complicated relationship, Viserys and Daemon, throughout this entire series. And I imagine throughout their entire lives together as characters, with the back and forth between them, and Daemon being jealous and envious of the fact that he's king, and feeling like he was maybe stepped over and he should have been king. And so he, even in that moment when he grabs the throat, even though he's dealing with the grief of Viserys, he still kind of insults Viserys for being caught up in the portents and the tales and the stories and the prophecies and all of that. But she has a stronger purpose. She has a stronger determination. While he flails about, lost in his emotion again, her compass is different than his. It points true north. She knows that she's right in what she's doing. What do you think about this whole sequence and these scenes here leading to Rhaenyra having that powerful moment at the end of the confrontation with Daemon?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, I just think this whole episode is about Rhaenyra sort of feeling out what she's going to do, because as much as she's trained for this her whole life, and as much as she's known it's coming, knowing it's coming and then actually stepping into the role, as Shannon said, is a very different thing. So, when she shows up on that bridge with Otto and everybody, and she hears everything, and Daemon is ready to go at it. You know, she's got the cooler head here. And then when Otto does give her that paper from that book, it affects her. I mean, like, think about the fact that she doesn't know that Alicent believes that on Viserys' deathbed, like, all she knows from Rhaenys is your dad's dead and Alicent took the throne. Last time she saw Alicent was like, you're going to be a really good queen. I hope you can come back and visit me soon. I wish you didn't have to leave. And then she just finds out, oh, that all happened. I don't, like, she's completely flummoxed by that. So, like, obviously that piece of paper means a lot for her, but then stepping into that room, like Shannon said, with the guards, with everybody, like, this is the first time she's doing all of this. And Daemon does kind of try and push forward his agenda, which he thinks is the right thing to do. But the way that she really stops him and says, hold on, like, let's think this through. And I did, like John, you said it. Rhaenys killed me. When Daemon started listing off those dragons and listed off Rhaenys' dragon, and Rhaenys literally just went like,
yeah. I'm sorry?
Oh, are we including my dragon? Because I don't know if you saw, but I didn't bend down out there yet. So what are we doing? But you know, I do think that, like, Rhaenyra does such a good job of playing this character who is both very, very strong and also completely unsure of herself at the same time. And I think that she did such a nice job with all of that. And then to what you guys were saying, you know, kind of stepping into this role of, like, I don't want to be a queen of just ash and fire. Like, I don't want to burn everything to the ground just to keep it. And what's really interesting is, you know, we did this all season long. We talked about how weak Viserys was. And he was. He was not the greatest king, but he did rule through a time of peace. A lot of that was luck on his side. He made it really clear as he got older that he really maybe wished he had been challenged and had some great battle to fight, but also he didn't think he was really going to be up to that challenge. And he was self-aware enough to know that about himself. Now, Rhaenyra is in this position. Daemon is the fighter. Daemon is the brawler. Daemon's the one that just wants to jump in and, oh, you slighted me. You slighted my wife. You said her children were bastards. I'll cut off your head. Like, he is just going to act right away and dive into everything. And in the same way that we all looked at Viserys as kind of weaker for kind of maybe putting the good of the realm first and trying to figure out how to do things, like, Rhaenyra has a lot of her dad in him. And I think that scene by the fire, I think one of the reasons that Daemon does grab her is because what attracts him to Rhaenyra is the part of Rhaenyra that's like him. And the part that he doesn't love as much is the part that's like his brother. So as soon as she starts talking about the Song of Ice and Fire and these bigger ideas, while she's been saying, I don't know that I want to fight. I'm not saying I'm going to give in to their demands, but is that the better thing for the realm? Isn't the realm the most important thing? Like, Daemon doesn't want to hear any of this stuff. And I think in that moment, when he grabs her by the throat and kind of says, this isn't what, you know, that stupid bullshit that he was always talking about, I think he's mad because he wants Rhaenyra to be the Rhaenyra that he, I think, expected her to be. And the fact that she's not that in this moment, I think really, really frustrates him.
She's moving past him in that moment. Like, her becoming queen, and Shannon, you brought this up, he's the first one to kneel. Then everyone else kneels after he kneels, which there's a confirmation there of what to do. But yeah, she is moving past him. She is driven by something bigger. She has a bigger thing to accomplish. He can't maybe necessarily go along with what she's doing. And that's his frustration going out and grabbing her. And what, I'm not that I'm condoning it or excusing it, just you can see where he's coming from in that moment of why he does the thing. Make excellent point there, Mike. And she's got to navigate this. And it's also, I mean, this whole episode is her figuring out how to stand as a queen. And she says, I'm not going to be the one that starts this civil war. I'm not going to do the thing that launches it or whatever. I'm looking at it. I'm analyzing it. I'm wondering what's the best for the entire realm, just like my father did. There's a reason why he ruled during peace, because sometimes he had to swallow his pride, swallow what he had to do. It sucked. He was indecisive, let things hang on for a little bit longer, but there was peace. And so for her, she sees that. And I think you make an excellent point, Mike, that I hadn't thought about, the fact that when she's acting like her father, which he says, I hate you. Now you sound like Viserys. That's where that anger is coming from, essentially trying to on the nose, choke that voice out of her. It's a very interesting moment for sure.
And before we move on, because we didn't really talk about Rhys Ifans, and
Oh,
he's
yeah,
only
that
in
scene
he's
on the
only in the
bridge.
one scene,
Yeah,
but
he's so good.
man, the beauty of the way he's playing this character is everything. All the advice that he gives, it sounds like a really good idea, and all of his like, look. Your kids are going to be okay. One's going to be the king's squire. The other's going to be the king's cupbearer. Like, look, he's going to forgive everything. He is doing such a magnificent job, which we've only seen a couple of times.
Right.
We've seen like where the Otto really kind of reveals his true self, and he's done it with Alicent. But you see just why he's such a master manipulator. And, the way that he delivers those lines, I mean, even to us as the audience, it's like, maybe that would be a better idea. And it's like, are you kidding? Aegon is a piece of that's a sociopathic piece of shit. Those kids are gonna die.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also really quickly, I know I will probably touch on this in the next scene coming up, but as much as Rhaenys' face was great when Daemon brought up when she was like, get my dragon's name out of your mouth. When Rhaenyra when Rhaenyra was actually saying to everybody, I don't want to just burn everything to the ground. To John's point, that great line that she had, which was, is my duty to, put the good of the realm first or to sit on the throne at all costs. Rhaenys, like, that's the moment she wins Rhaenys over.
Mm-hmm.
And Rhaenys says as much in the upcoming scene, which we'll touch on, but you can see it on her face in that moment. She has been holding those cards close to her chest. She was clearly not down with Team Hightower at the end of last episode, but she has a lot of baggage with Rhaenyra and Daemon. And you see in that moment where she's like, it's almost like everything she said, again, just comparing the two episodes, that whole scene with Alicent last week, where she was like, you're just putting a window on your prison. Like, that's all you're doing. Like, you've never even considered what you would do. You haven't considered who's the best. Like, you're not considering anything. You're just doing what everybody has put you on the wheel to do. And in that moment with Rhaenyra, where Rhaenyra's like, guys, I don't want to do this. I want to do this. Like, I got to think this through. That's the moment that Rhaenys chooses her side.
Yeah, that's a great point, Michael. Also, Rhaenys delivers yet another shade to Daemon when Rhaenyra clears the room. I don't know if you caught it, but as Rhaenys is walking out, she tosses a look to Daemon like, dumb motherfucker, and rolls out. She was Shade Queen. As much as Rhaenyra was the Black Queen, she was the Shade Queen, Rhaenys, throughout this entire episode. Let's go to her scene. We cut to Corlys waking up in his bed as Rhaenys is there asleep in the chair. There's some fun joke from Corlys' side, but she's not having it. She accuses him of abandoning her when she needed him the most, abandoning her grandchildren. He said he tries to defend himself, saying he had nowhere else to turn, and she reminds him that they both lost everything, not just him. So he had no right to go and take off, which he had done apparently in the past in their relationship. She tells him of Aemond's death and how it happened. He doesn't seem to be too surprised, and this kind of even though he's hurt by it, it initiates this interaction that's really powerful between them. Corlys realizes that Rhaenys was right this whole time, and the pursuit for the Iron Throne brought their family pain and suffering. He declares in this moment that he will declare for no one. They'll just retire to their island, or they'll be protected by all their fleet, and they'll retire with their grandchildren and live out the rest of their days. Rhaenys is like, cut that nonsense out. Look, Jace, Luke, and Joff are all claimants of the throne. They will not be saved as long as Aegon is king. He counters her with Rhaenyra causing the death of their son and saying things, people die around this woman. And she says that woman or that girl is the only one keeping this realm together. Everyone wants her to run to war, and she's showing restraint. Going back to what Michael said, she won her over. And we're seeing the guys all arguing around her, and Rhaenyra is just sitting at the map, looking at the map, contemplating what she can do, what she needs to do. Then we cut to Rhaenys and Corlys walking in to talk to Rhaenyra. Daemon is not there. Corlys walks over to the map, look at the map. He says they do not have enough allies to win. They need more houses. He then declares for her. She thanks him, but also she needs to know who her allies are before she sends them to war. Corlys tells her that he owns the Stepstones, which is a huge revelation. The war is over there, and he has won, and the Narrow Sea is theirs. He says, He says if they can seal the gullet, they can cut off all seaborne travel and trade at King's Landing. Rhaenys now offers to take part in this war, to take Meleys out there and patrol the gullet herself. Lord Bartimus says they can drain the Narrow Sea, surround the Red Keep, lay siege to the King's Landing. Rhaenyra says they need to secure the support of Winterfell, the Eyrie, and Storm's End. Jacaerys says they should bear the message since dragons can fly faster than ravens and are more convincing. They want to be sent. Jacaerys and Lucerys want to be sent. She agrees. Jacaerys to the north, Lucerys to the south, to Storm's End, to treat with Lord Boris Baratheon. She says we must remind these lords of the oaths they swore and the cost of breaking them. We cut to Rhaenyra talking to Jace and Luke. He reminds them that if they take these errands, they go as messengers, not as warriors. They must not fight, makes them swear on it. And she talks to Jace about Craig Stark, then talks to Lucerys, mirroring the opening scene between Lucerys and Rhaenyra there. Talks about Lord Boros, and she's trying to make him confident that he can do this, he can handle this. She sends them off as the dragons fly away. We cut to Daemon walking in, singing some song of old Valyrian. Who is he walking towards? Well, it's Vermithor, who walks up and breathes fire and grumbles. So, Mike, the great scene between Rhaenys and Corlys here, leading to Corlys essentially bending the knee to Rhaenyra and taking a side. Clearly, they've got some advantage here by shutting off the trade routes and the supply zones, or paths rather, to King's Landing. And Rhaenys now wants to dial in. And then what we see Jacaerys and Lucerys volunteer to do. What do you think about this section of the show?
I think that, again, just the scene with Rhaenys, as I already said, it's the moment. You can see it's the moment when Rhaenyra wins her over. But I think, again, you have this guy who, for the entirety that we've known him, was just trying to get up on that Iron Throne, get his family up on that Iron Throne. And then when things didn't go his way and he got upset and he got hurt, he couldn't deal with his feelings and he just ran off and left Rhaenys in charge. Like, basically just disappeared because he couldn't deal with shit.
The emotional response.
He was too emotional.
Yeah.
And left Rhaenys there to deal with everything, and she calls him on it. And so then even here, where he's like, you know what? You were right. I'm giving this all up. Let's just go and do this. And she's like, dummy, you can't. What is wrong with you guys? Like, why don't you? Your grandkids are in trouble, dummy. And so, even in his sort of apology, you were right, still kind of makes the wrong call. And so good thing that Rhaenys is there to be like, no, how about this though? Yeah. But yeah, great that, and even when he says that he has the stepstones, he also says he put a garrison out there, which if you recall, is what Rhaenyra suggested they do 6 episodes ago. Or 4 or 5 episodes ago, where she's like, we should put a garrison, and kind of got shut down by Alicent, I believe. It was that first really contentious meeting that they had in King's Landing. So yeah, then you get to, them deciding to go shore things up, go let's send everybody out. I do think it's interesting, there was such a big deal was made when we kind of did the time jump and you got back to King's Landing and you saw how Alicent and Otto had really just decked King's Landing out in all of the religious paraphernalia of the Seven. And a point was really made how the Targaryens weren't really that religious. But Rhaenyra, again, I think this is a small example, but it's really interesting. She's queen of the Seven of Westeros now.
Yeah.
She's queen of everybody, and most of the people in Westeros pray to the Seven. So even though the Targaryens don't really weigh in on the Seven, she makes her kids, she makes Jace and Luke pray on the Seven, because if we're going to be their rulers, we need to swear on their gods, is basically what she says, which I thought was just a really small example of somebody being, you should be queen. You've kind of got the stuff for this. Look, as soon as those kids were like, hey, you were saying Luke and Jace both wanted to be sent on this. Luke didn't want to be sent on this.
Yeah, Luke didn't want. You're right.
Luke, Jace is like, look, let's go. I'm in. I want to fight. I want to be a part of this. And Luke is like, but so what do I have to do exactly? Is this, what are you?
No, you're right.
He literally, even in that scene with the two of them talking, he just looks scared shitless of all of it. He just looks so overwhelmed by all of the things that are happening. And in that moment, I was like, where are we going with this? Where are we going with this? What's happening?
Yeah, me having read the book, I was like, oh shit, are they going to do the scene? I was really surprised that they actually went forward with it. Shannon, thoughts on this section of the show and what went on with all the characters here and Rhaenys and Corlys, and then, of course, leading to them being part of the battle preparations for this whole situation, then the kids going off to deliver their messages.
I mean, again, great scene. I mean, Vogel said it pretty well already. The scene between Corlys and Rhaenys. I do like that his joke, which solid joke. That's funny.
Yeah, solid joke.
But it's also establishing a little bit of dominance. Like, hey, if this had happened, like I would have had, I would have the guy punished, and she shuts this shit down.
Yeah. He's like read the room.
Yeah. Not funny, bad timing. But the whole interplay back and forth between them, and you can see just how much of a burden is placed on women in this world.
Yeah.
Because if the guy has something to deal with, he's gonna go off and I'm gonna go have an adventure. That's how I'm gonna deal with my shit. And it's like, well, you're the lady of the house. You have to stay here and mind the children. You have to do all this stuff. I did like when he arrived in sort of their war room, how, and I'm automatically sort of attributing this to his marriage with Rhaenys, as he's basically grilling Rhaenyra a little bit, like, well, you need this. Do you have this? Do you have this? Like, well, all these people swore to me. He's like, yeah, so did the Hightowers, if you remember that. And she's like, yeah, so did you. Like, just great interplay. And then once he sort of once they have kind of come to the decision that they are going to stand by Rhaenyra, that's when he lets out that he's like, we have the stepstones. So it's like him kind of him trying to figure out, like, all right, do you know as much as my wife says you do? And once he is sort of confident in that, he's like, all right, yeah, we have the stepstones. This is how we can do it. Really, really excellent. Going to, sending the kids away. I had the same thought. I was just like, Jace is all about this. And Luke is like, he looks like such a little kid.
Yeah.
And as Rhaenyra is trying to give him some confidence, being like, Storm, what is it? Storm's Edge, Storm's End.
Yeah.
Storm's End. Storm's, it's a short flight. Like, you're going to be okay. You're going to be all right. Even as the three dragons are leaving, he looks so little. And as the winds and as, the rains are kind of whipping up, you can see how the dragon is being jostled. I mean, for the symbolism, it's just like he's in such an uncertain position right now. Really, really well done.
I agree with you. The symbolism of the rainstorm and everything like that is what is going on with his inner situation there.
Real quick question for the guy who keeps telling us how he's read the books.
No, I've read the story.
So the dragon that Daemon is talking to,
yes,
is a bigger dragon than Aemond's dragon. Like, Aemond's dragon is the biggest claimed dragon in the world.
Yes.
And there are like 3 unclaimed dragons, and one of them was like, I forget which Targaryen, but like he's like this is the biggest, right?
This is going to be a very big dragon.
Okay, that's all I needed. That's all I needed.
Not just physical stature, but in effect of everything.
Oh no,
going to happen.
I got your meaning on bigger.
Captain Symbolism always needs his kryptonite.
This is the game. By the way, what I just did is the game that every geek in the world plays with their friends who are geekier about things when they like something. Like, I'm really liking the show. So is this person important? Yeah, this person is really important because I don't want to know anymore. I just wanted to know. I just wanted to know if they were important. That's all I needed. Please don't give me any more details at this point in time. I will come to you with questions as needed and warranted.
And the other good guys, like, really important, if you know what I mean. All right, let's move on to the last section here of the show. We cut to, well, I'll just say real quick, I really liked it too. Enjoyed the back and forth. Loved, I mean, when you're an actor watching a scene like that, you're like, God, man, that's awesome. Well written, good acting, good pacing, good rhythm, nice surprises within the scene. And you're right, Shannon, to bring this up, the power dynamic shifting from what we initially thought Corlys was empowered to Rhaenys by the end. And then Corlys, of course, going in and grilling Mike, great points. He's not going to give you information. He's not going to bend the knee till he's confident this woman can handle shit. And certainly Rhaenyra going back at him going, yeah, so did you, son of a bitch. It won him over. So it's really kind of good stuff with the interpersonal relationships. We cut to Lucerys rather landing on Storm's End with his dragon. Then he notices that Vhagar is parked in the driveway as well, which means Aemond is there. Lucerys is led up to see Lord Baratheon, and we see that Aemond is in there. Boris Baratheon says he got a message from the king himself and wants to know what Lucerys' mother's message is. He calls for the maester because apparently he can't read. I think that's why he calls for the maester. The maester reads the message.
Oh, no. That is what it is.
No, he
cannot read.
Here it is. He essentially gives him the Cliff's Notes in his ears, and then Boris is mad, says that the message is just a reminder of his oath, but with no gifts. He says Aemond at least came with the offer to marry one of his daughters. Lucerys says he will bring the message back to the queen. Clearly you're offended. I'm going to get on out of here. This is wrong. I totally get it. I'm rolling out here. And as he's turning around to walk out, Aemond calls him out. And Lucerys says, I'm not going to fight you after a back and forth with them. Aemond says, oh, no. Fighting you is not going to mean a damn thing because you're easy to kill. I want you to take out your own eye. And then rips off his eye patch there to show the eye, which looks pretty cool. It's like kind of a crystal there. He refuses, and Aemond goes to attack him. But Boros says, we will not have bloodshed in my house, and tells his guards to escort Lucerys to his dragon. And as he runs out to his dragon, Lucerys sees that Vhagar is gone. Oh, boy. He tells his dragon to focus and obey, sensing that Aemond is probably on Vhagar somewhere in the skies, in the stormy skies, and will attack. They fly out into the storm, and suddenly we see Vhagar fly above them. And I wrote this, like a star destroyer at the beginning of A New Hope there. And suddenly he appears out of nowhere and is toying with Lucerys, and chase ensues, and Lucerys is doing his best to elude Aemond, flying through the tiny crevices there as Vhagar is flying above, which is a pretty awesome visual. Aemond yells out that he owes a debt, and then Lucerys' dragon attacks Vhagar out of nowhere, blowing fire on Vhagar, and then Vhagar takes off after Lucerys against Aemond's wishes. Aemond is trying to stop Vhagar from doing this, and so is Lucerys trying to stop his dragon as well. And his dragon flies out above the storm clouds in this illusion that they are in a safe spot or safe area. They can see everything. And then out of nowhere, Vhagar just shows up and absolutely kills Lucerys and his dragon. And Aemond knows that they have crossed the line. And the shot on his face, he knows that they have made a grave mistake that they cannot come back from. Then we cut to Daemon walking in slow motion. This is really well shot. Once again, shout out to the director here. And we see him walking in slow motion, take Rhaenyra's hand, informs her what we think is of Lucerys' death. And then we see her instinctively grab her stomach like a mother grabbing her womb to feel the pain of the loss of something that she birthed. And then there's this moment as we see her from behind in the fireplace, and then she slowly turns. And oh my God, I wrote, oh my God, this is a look you never want to get from a woman in your entire life. And it means all hell is about to break loose, and I'm going to burn this fucking shit.
We all know you wrote that down because that's what you tweeted when you finished the episode.
True, very true. But I wrote that down before I tweeted it.
Dear God on Twitter. That's how I know. That's how I know Rocha finished an episode. I go to Twitter with, Dear God, this shot.
It's
the Rocha says.
I've had that look once in my life. It is not a good look. Shannon, overall thoughts on others? I mean, you're the action guy. Certainly a lot of action going on in this in these particular scenes here. What did you think of all of this with Lucerys and Aemond, and then of course that final shot between Daemon and Rhaenyra?
I mean, again, just the way everything was framed was to make Luke and his dragon look as small as possible.
Yeah, so true.
Even as he's coming into Storm's End to the tower, it's like he just looks so dinky.
It looked like a prop plane, Shannon.
Yes, a prop plane to Vhagar's, Zeppelin. Yeah. But it was funny watching Boros Baratheon, this surly Nick Offerman looking dude. I mean, what you can see how that guy is going to be the ancestor of Robert Baratheon.
Yeah.
Just cock of the walk. Like, reading, that's for nerds. I don't have time. But I think it also really silhouettes, for me at least, the black-hattedness, the villainy of Aemond. Like he just cut such an intimidating figure, even with the eye patch. I mean, he just looks so. At any moment, he's like a coiled snake that could strike. And watching poor Luke try to deal with this, captain of the football team who has no interest in listening. I don't want to hear what you say. Well, what are you gonna give me? And then he was so proud of. He's like, oh, is it a king or is it a queen? Maybe the House of the Dragon should figure out who's in charge. Like, he's so proud of himself. Like, I hope we get to see that character again because he was very amusing. But when he basically, once he basically says, like, what is it? Go home, young pup. Go back home. Go back home to your mother. And then as he's walking away and you hear Aemond say, stop. And then he calls him Lord Strong again. Like, oh my gosh. And like the coincidental nature of that statement is the reason that Jace and Luke seem like they are going to turn out well. Well, Jace. The reason they're going to turn out well is because of that strong blood. Yeah, like all of the shittiness from Aemond and Aegon seem to have come from the High Towers, but there's an
Targaryens have their own history of being pretty wacky. So
sure. I'm looking at their. That's fair. That's a fair statement. But there's a weird honor to Aemond. How he's just like, I'm not going to kill you. I'm not. That wouldn't be a fight. I'm not going to do that. I just want your eye. He's like, just one. He's like, you did this to me. Now it's time for you to do this to you. It's time to even the score. There is a weird, twisted honor to him. He's just like, I don't want to beat you up. There's nothing fun. Like, everyone knows I can do that. But this is a debt. Like, you owe a debt here. And then I agree, John, when he pulls the eye patch off and you see that sort of bluish crystal, whatever they've stuck in there to take the, to fill in the void of where his eyeball used to be. But then, like, Boris basically being an okay guy for a second, like, oh, not in here.
He just doesn't want the responsibility.
That's fair too. Yeah, he's the captain of the football team.
He's talking all that shit, but he's like, but I don't want anything to happen here.
Oh, not here. I don't want a bunch of dragons coming here.
I don't. Maybe the Targaryens got to figure out who's in charge, but somewhere else.
The whole chase was just so well done, and even though Vhagar is this enormous creature, how it flies basically silent over the top of Luke and Eric's, and you see the brief fight. Like this would not be a fight. For a second, I thought Vhagar had clipped him with his talons, but then the moment that he blows fire, it's like, oh no, why'd you do that? And you can see how, I think Viserys said it in the first episode, how our control of the dragons is an illusion. Like, at the end of the day, they are animals and they are going to do what they want to do.
That dragon going to dragon. Yeah.
The dragon's going to dragon. I mean, the moment that Vhagar chomps down on Luke and Eric's, and again, we've had many examples of the size difference, but not until he chomps down and Eric's literally just falls apart. Like, that's how big and strong these jaws are. And Daemon, suddenly a good guy again. He comes in, he delivers this terrible news. He takes his wife's hand. And I know it's a back and forth.
I think you're giving him way too much credit. He's an evil guy throughout him. I hear you.
He does a good job of comforting his grieving wife.
Sure.
In that moment,
for sure.
For a very specific reason that he's excited.
Maybe he's using it to his own end, but that's neither here nor there. Yes, the 180, the physical 180 that Emma D'Arcy does with that expression on her face, it's like, and that's how you end a season right there.
That's also how you win an Emmy. I think if you're going to go Olivia Cook or Emma D'Arcy, You can make the arguments both sides, but that scene is that one extra thing across the goal line that I think if people were looking to nominate both, who they would vote for to either win or to be nominated over the other there, because it is just an incredible acting moment for sure. Michael, thoughts on this, on these sequences here leading to the end of the episode?
I mean, my brother was really funny when Luke landed in that courtyard at Storm's End, and then all this on Eric's, and then you saw Vhagar in the background. Daniel, he looked at me, he goes, he should just leave. Like, you see Vhagar, you hop right back on that dragon and you get the fuck out of there and you just deal with whatever later. And I was like,
is this Storm's End? Oh, I was trying to go to Winterfell.
Oh, it's so late though. Ooh, I had better. Ugh. So yeah, it was like he was just like, I don't even know why he's going inside. Like, what are you doing?
I thought it was Storm's End. I'm going to college. I'm a kid.
Like I would have noped right on out of there. But no, Shannon really took the words out of my mouth as far as Baratheon's Barathoning. I think that they've done such a nice job. Like, this is what, 200 years before Daenerys and everything. Is this 200 years? But you sort of just see the obsequiousness of the Lannisters, the incestuousness of the Targaryens. They talk about the honor of the Starks, like, oh, once a Stark gives their word. And then you get to Storm's End and you see this guy and you're like, oh, fucking Robert Baratheon all over again. Just gonna drink and fuck and laugh at his own stupid jokes and like, okay. Like, you're just like, oh, this fucking guy. I've met him at so many frat parties. Ugh. But yeah, Aemond is so interesting. This show is very interesting because, man, if you are the second born in a family, it's gonna be rough for you no matter what. Like, Aemond, you got Luke, you got Daemon. What is Corlys? Is it not Laenor's his son? What was Corlys' brother?
Vaemond.
Yeah. Like, man, if you're a second son, you've got a lot of things that you're dealing with in your life. And Aemond, I believe it's a sapphire in his eye. I might be wrong, but I think it's a sapphire. But yeah, that just looks cool. It does make me wonder at what point you're like sitting around going, you know what? I'm gonna put a jewel in my eye socket. I feel like that's a move. Like, I just wonder, I want to know, you guys are always missing like this 6 years and this 5 years, and I want to know all the stories. I really want to know about the moment someone decides to put a rock in their eye. Like, that's the story I want. Yeah, so that when they leave, like, I was like, fuck, man, it's Game of Thrones, or it's the world of Game of Thrones. So I'm just like, this could go literally any which way. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. And yeah, there's sometimes in a show, in a movie too, but like, you just have those certain shots that you're like, this is going to be remembered forever. And Luke flying on Arax, and then like just Vhagar coming in above him like a fucking 747. Like, it was just awesome. And then I got like this little moment of hope because Luke actually played it smart. Like, Luke did the smart thing. He was on a smaller, more maneuverable dragon, so he dove down and pulled like a Hiccup and Toothless and went right into that ravine and was like, look, you can't chase me here. You're too big. And I was like, okay, he played it smart. He's going to get out of this alive. This is the moment that he realizes that being the littler one. And like, I had a whole version of this story that this was the moment that Luke figured some shit out. And then those dragons, man, like, when Arax went and just like, was like, I'm going to attack this bigger dragon. I'm going to shoot fire at him because my life is threatened. And then Vhagar was like, nope, not doing that. And just watching Luke and Aemond be just completely, both of them were just like, fuck, this dragon's not doing, like, this is, I've completely lost control here. And everything went, we don't know what Luke's expression was because he's down Vhagar's throat, but Aemond looked just like, he had that look like, I just really, like, as crazy as Aemond might be, like, he recognized in that moment how badly he fucked up. Yeah. Like, this is, you just started the war. Like Rhaenyra saying earlier, I'm not going to be the one that starts this war, but this is all she needed. And in a way, there's a comparison to be made. Yeah, as you were saying, John, earlier with the dragon moment and that the Targaryens are dragons. As much as Viserys is like, this control that we have over dragons is an illusion, like you see that one moment where they're threatened, one moment where they see blood, where they just see red, and those dragons are just going to lose it and attack. And then that's what happens with Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra was composed and let's see how this is going to go, and my job is to keep the realm together. And then Daemon walks in and is like, Luke's dead. And she was like, burn it all to the ground. Just burn, like she doesn't give a shit. Which is why I think, look, do I think Daemon had some level of fondness for Luke? They've been in Dragonstone for a while, sure. But Daemon for this entire episode has been chomping at the bit to go to war. He was ready to just mow Otto down on that bridge. He wanted to go fight everybody. He wants to wipe out the High Towers. And Rhaenyra was like, no, we're going to lie. We got to think this through. I'm the queen. I'm the boss. I get to say this. And I have to believe that when Daemon got that news, he was like, finally, this is going to put her over the edge. This is going to get her over to my side. Now I'm going to get the Rhaenyra that I want back, and we are going to lay waste to our enemies.
Yeah.
And so I think there was, I don't want to say satisfaction, but he knew what he was saying and how it was going to be received, I think.
Yeah. Plus, it wasn't one of their children. It was one of her children.
Exactly.
Strong. So it wasn't a loss for him in that way. So yeah, you're right. Great point. Absolutely great point. And yeah, using that situation for what it is. I just think I just thought it was really well done, really well shot. Knowing what was going to happen, it still was awesome. It still was great the way they made it done. And you're right, Mike, the way they let you think for just a moment, this motherfucker got away. This motherfucker figured it out.
Luke, you're so smart. Oh!
Oh, no. But as soon as he flew out, that's the equivalent to when I get back from the war, I'm going to see, Betsy, and we're going to go to the soda shop. It's basically that.
Saving that last dance for you, Peggy.
Exactly. Oh. Exactly. So but it was you don't see you see the blood or the sheds of blood, but you don't see him actually dying or in his mouth or anything like that. It was not gratuitous. It was just bam, it was done. It was great the way that was filmed. So just fantastic stuff overall. Really enjoyed it. Sad to see it go. We got to wait God knows how long.
Oh my gosh.
For a season 2. It's going to be forever. But it feels like they're shooting it. And I think you may one last thing. I think you make an excellent point as it occurs to me, Shannon. Aemond in that moment, and Mike, you said this too, he realizes he's gone too far, but also it speaks to his nobility that he's like, I didn't want to get this kid killed. I just wanted him to take his eye out. I didn't want to kill him. Vagar doing this, he's like,
I think you two give that motherfucker, that psychopath, way too much credit.
You're just trying to understand it. I'm not saying he's not a psychopath.
I don't think he was like, oh, I didn't want to hurt the lad. Like he's like, he's just like, I'm gonna be in a lot of trouble with Grandpa when I get home. Like that's what he was really thinking. Like he's getting.
I should not have said fire to the school. That was my mistake. Okay, let's wrap it up there, Michael. Any final thoughts? And as we say goodbye to season 1 and this finale, if you want to talk anything we might have missed.
Yeah, just really quick. I mean, we've all just said how much we love it and how excited we are and how much of a bummer it's going to be to wait. But I mean, when you think about Game of Thrones, the 8 seasons that we got, I mean, they did such a good job of. One of the things that George R.R. Martin did so amazing is like he kind of he eased you into the fantastical. Like when you start Game of Thrones, it kind of feels like a medieval world and there's not a ton of magic. And then you get to the end of the first season and those dragons hatch. And Daenerys having those 3 dragons is such a game changer for her and a game changer for Westeros, that as those dragons get older and bigger, and they never get to, Vagar size, but like as they get bigger and more powerful, you see how with just those dragons, she just lays waste to her enemies. And then by the time we get to season 7 and she comes to Westeros, you see what game changers those dragons are. So to have this series where we've just got all these dragons, and it's not a talk about do you have any dragons, it's who has more dragons. And that by the end of this season, this battle in the sky that we get between the Aemond and Luke is the promise of like, this is just all out dragon war. Like, just to think about what's coming is so exciting. And if they can keep up the level of quality that they've established with all the dragon effects and everything that they're doing here, and all the political intrigue and the amazing performances and the acting and the writing, like it's just, I'm back, baby. I'm back in.
Yeah, for for sure. Shannon brought up about the map and the fire underneath the map. I want to get like an actual figure or construction of that somewhere and put it up behind me. That'd be so awesome. Shannon, your final thoughts on this entire season and the finale?
Yeah, I mean, I think you all had said it at the beginning how prior to the first episode, it was sort of like, we'll see. And then, flash forward 2.5 months, and it's like the show is fantastic. I mean, it's so well done. And the thing that gives me a lot of confidence with at least how this could end is the fact that the material that it's based on is completed.
Yeah,
and that there won't be I'm presuming that there will not be a lot of fabrication in the absence of source material. So knowing that they have the source material, the writers, Ryan J. Condal and his staff, that they can plus where they want to plus, they can alter where they want to alter, but they're not going to be searching for answers, which I think is going to be a big benefit to this show. But I mean, across the board, the effects have been great. My TV works really well, so everything I can see great. But also, I mean, even going back to Game of Thrones, casting is something that these productions have done exceptionally well. Because a bad actor, a not great performance can really stick out. It can really kind of derail what would be a fantastic episode of the series. And to my knowledge, I mean, I'm a little fuzzy on Game of Thrones since it was a bit ago, but to my knowledge, it's never happened. Like they have gotten some fantastic performances out of number one on the call sheet all the way down to your day players, and everyone's doing a fantastic job. And I can't wait to see how
there was that unfortunate Ed Sheeran moment, but other than that, we can let it go.
Oh yeah,
man, I didn't think he was that bad. the cries across the world of like, get that kid out of here.
How dare you? How dare you?
I can't wait to see how the creative team, how they try to top this season, because if this was just all set up, essentially, I mean, really, really great setup, but if this is all set up and the next 3 seasons are going to be all payoff, fantastic.
Yeah. Let's bring in Taylor Swift in next season. No, absolutely. I agree with both of you. Can't add much more to what you guys have said. This has been a fantastic return to Game of Thrones. As someone who loved the series and covered the series multiple times, multiple seasons rather, it was great to find myself getting excited and more week to week to seeing what we're going to get. Even so much so as like being worried about watching it. Like I got that excited. I was like, I don't want to be disappointed. I don't want to be disappointed. I want to lose this feeling. That was coming over me every Sunday night. And so I like that was kind of back there. Now that there's this confidence or in the creators, I'm excited to see what we're going to get in the subsequent seasons that are coming up here, because there's so much story to tell, so much fun to explore with all these characters for sure. And you're right, Shannon. Everybody, there's no younger Cannavale here. Everybody can act and do a good job. So this is great to see. So, we'll call that Mandalorian episode. All right, we're out of here. Thank you all so much for joining us for the spoiler finale and for every episode that we've done here in this House of the Dragon series that we've done here on the Geek Buddies. We appreciate it, madly. Appreciate all your comments, your theories, your points of views in the comments section. Those have all been so great. Shannon, what do we have to tell them?
Yeah, if you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's at @geek_buddies, on Instagram at @the_geek_buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's at @Shannon_McClung, on Instagram at Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you would like to follow Mr. Vogel, it is at MKToon. If you would like to follow Mr. Rocha, it is at The Rocha Says.
Mikey?
Listen, there's a lot of House of the Dragon coming, and it's going to take a while, but when it gets here, we want to talk about it. And so we want to still be around, and here is how you can help that happen. Hit that like button below if you liked what we had to say and enjoyed this little chat about Westeros. Definitely subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw Nation page. There's a ton of amazing content. We don't just talk Westeros. We talk a galaxy far, far away. We talk the MCU. We talk DC. We talk all the things. So definitely check it out. There's a whole bunch of awesome stuff there. Leave your comments below. What did you think of the finale? Did we get everything right? Did we get some things wrong? Did you read the book? Don't spoil it for everybody else, but let us know what you think is coming down the pipe. If you are listening to us on a podcast, leave us some stars, leave us some comments, helps us go up in the rankings so more people can find us. And as always, the best thing that you can do is retweet this video, post it on your socials, send it to your friends, and tell them to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies.
Go. Thank you all so much. And big shout out to Carbon Health. who continues to power and sponsor us here on the Geek Buddies. Head on over there to cardinalhealth.com. Go get checked out. They have virtual care, in-person care, urgent care clinics. They got 100 plus locations all over California, 80 plus locations all over the world, all over the country rather, 80 plus locations in California alone. Go get checked out. Download the app as well for any healthcare questions, concerns, or needs that you have on the go. And maybe there's a clinic near you. Get checked out and make sure you're on the right path to get healthy. All right. Thank you so much again, and take care of yourselves. Be well. We'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode from the
Geek
Buddies.